So we got our first official look at the Nintendo Switch 2 today, and I am surprised, overwhelmed, very, very excited, and a little disappointed by some of the stuff that we found out after the Direct was over. And we're going to talk about that, but I wanted to get into my general thoughts on the whole thing. I mean, this isn't really our first official look. We had that trailer a couple months ago that really only showed off the look of the console, and that was cool. But here we learned about tech, we learned about what games are coming out, we learned about console storage, we learned about new features. So this is really our first true look at what Nintendo's next gen console is going to be like. And this show, it's really, I at least think that it's sort of the most important marketing piece of this like next generation, right? In the sense that this is really, Nintendo has already sold you on the idea of the Switch. Most people, the Switch sold more than 30 million copies. It was a very successful console. People know what the Switch is. They're not coming to this Direct to like learn about that, right? So Nintendo really has to tell you what's new, what's exciting about it. And I think they did a good job at that. They really mostly focused on games, which I thought they would, and I think that was the right choice. And they did some other stuff that I found really, really interesting and really hopeful for what it represents for the generation going forward, right? So, for example, one of the things that I thought was really, really cool, and again, I think I'll talk about that more in depth at the end, was that the first thing we see, well, after, the logo and Mario Kart, was three young dudes, right? One was a producer, one was a director, and I think the other one was like a hardware director or something. And these were three guys I've never seen before in my life, and I watch every Nintendo Direct, so I would remember. And they were much younger than the people we typically see at Nintendo, right? I mean, they weren't Koizumi, they weren't Miyamoto, they weren't Aonuma. There were just these three new people, and I think that's very cool. I think it says something about what Nintendo looks like in the future. You know what I mean? I mean, the Nintendo Switch was definitely the console, I think, where Nintendo sort of opened up its doors, not only towards a lot of more third-party and indie developers, I think it did that too, but also internally, right? I feel like much more younger developers and people with new ideas at Nintendo sort of starting to get a little more influence, right? The old guard doesn't seem to be as important as it used to be, I don't know, say 10 years ago during the Wii or the Wii U generation, right? Where Aonuma, Miyamoto were the literal company, right? I mean, you didn't see anybody else. I mean, you saw Reggie. Reggie, he's retired now, and I wish him the best. But yeah, I think it's really cool to see Nintendo opening itself up even more towards these new young people in the company. Don't get me wrong. I mean, at the end of the day, Miyamoto, Aonuma, Koizumi, even Sakurai, right? These people are like pillars of the industry. And I think they deserve all the respect, all the accolades they've gotten. But also at the same time, something that happens when you've been making games or movies or whatever creative pursuit you've been at for more than, like, at this point, for some of them, it's got to be more than like 30, 40 years. They sort of get stuck in their ways, right? They want to make new modern games with some modern stylings and features and tech, but they want those modern games to be essentially to have the same, I guess, ethos or as the older games, right? The sort of same spirit, the same, and I think that's fine, by the way. I think a Mario game should feel like a Mario game, but it's no surprise that with Miyamoto at the helm, that most Mario games don't really have a story. Most Zelda games, frankly, and this is coming from a Zelda fan, Zelda's story is bad. I mean, Majora's Mask is pretty great, and I mean, Link's Awakening has some deeper themes in there. I've heard some people talk about sort of Buddhist philosophy and nature with an Ocarina of Time, and how that's actually a very deeply thematic game. I mean, I guess people can think that, and they'll have their reasons, but I don't see it. And a lot of this, I mean, Miyamoto has said in interviews, right? Like, he says he doesn't have anything against story, he just doesn't do it himself. But I mean, we hear all these stories coming out of Nintendo, right? Of these devs trying to put much more like personality and story and just expand beyond the sort of Nintendo bubble that they've been trapped in. And it's always Miyamoto or other people from the old guard who are telling them, no, 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 Mario is this, Zelda is this. So to see these people not only opening up the presentation, but leading us all the way through the presentation without Onuma, Miyamoto, or Koizumi showing up once during the whole thing, I think that says something very strongly about what the future of Nintendo could look like. And I'm frankly very excited about it. I hope that Nintendo keeps coming up with even more new ideas and even more new stuff. And I think some of the games that were shown off during this Direct certainly seem to suggest that that's the direction that they want to go in. So, I mean, let's talk about that. Let's talk about what was shown off. First off, Mario Kart World. Everybody thought it was going to be Mario Kart 9. I mean, it is, for all intents and purposes, the next Mario Kart game. They could ignore Mario Kart 9. But that's not the title. It's called Mario Kart World. And I was sort of blown away by it a little bit. I mean, when we first got a look at it, back when the Switch trailer came out, we saw a couple things, right? We saw that some of the characters had been redesigned. We saw that the tracks just in general seemed bigger and that there were more players on a singular race, right? Before it was 12. Now they're going for 24, which is amazing. It's great in my opinion. I think it's just the normal progression of a series like this. But most importantly, the coolest feature here is that it's essentially an open world game, right? And I think that's one of those other things I was talking about with Nintendo. More young people sort of leading stuff at Nintendo. They're willing to incorporate new ideas from other franchises, right? Because this open world racing game thing was not invented by Mario Kart. Forza has been doing it for years. They've been doing it very well. So the fact that now Mario Kart is doing it, which frankly I think Mario Kart just in general, they appeal to me more, the much more stylized, fun nature of a Mario Kart when compared to a Forza. To have it set in a massive open world that they showed off that looks really cool with tons of diverse biomes and different tracks, and you have to literally physically drive to those other tracks. I think it's really cool. They showed off a couple new modes. I mean, the Grand Prix, it's always there. We knew it was coming. But what's really cool about it is, like, again, those tracks that you sort of ride through in the game, they exist within the world of the game. And when you're done with that race, you actually physically drive to the other track during the Grand Prix. And I just find that really, really cool. That's something I'm very excited about. They showed off another mode where you have to like drive cross country across the map. So yeah, I mean, I'm very excited for Mario Kart World. I don't think I've ever been excited for a Mario Kart anything. Not that I don't like Mario Kart, but it's just sort of like Mario Kart, right? Like Mario Kart 8, it introduced some new features. It introduced like the anti-grav stuff. And it looked a lot better than Mario Kart Wii ever had, right? Because it was new. But it was really just another Mario Kart game with a new collection of tracks. This seems to be going a different route. I'm interested to see how they'll do other Mario Kart staples like battle mode. I mean, they're going to have a direct like specifically dedicated to the game in a couple days. So we'll probably talk about it more there. But yeah, I'm interested to see what they'll do with battle mode. I'm interested to see if they'll incorporate older tracks from older games, which is now Mario Kart tradition, right? To remake old tracks from old Mario Kart games and put them into the new engine with the new tech and, you know, give them a little polish. So I'm interested to see if they will do that. I don't know how that lends itself to this new format that they're doing, but we'll see. I'm excited for it. They talked about the mouse feature. I mean, they hadn't confirmed it, but we all expected it. The patents leaked. It was heavily suggested by the trailer. And I mean, they didn't really do much with it in the trailer. I'm imagining it'll be, and the few things that, I mean, we'll talk about that, but the few things that they did show off with the mouse, I mean, frankly, I didn't find that interesting. A lot of it was very gimmicky. The only, like, true use of mouse that we saw in there in a way that I could imagine myself actually doing was in Metroid Prime 4, where they showed off you can aim with the mouse. And even then, I'm like, you guys know in Metroid Prime, you can lock onto the enemies, right? So what would be the point? But it's nice that it's there, and it's nice that it's there on the console. I'm excited for like maybe true FPS like style, like hardcore FPS, like a Doom Dark Ages, which I really hope is eventually on the Switch too. Maybe that'll make really good use of mouse support. Overwatch is on the Switch 1. I'm assuming that'll come to the Switch 2. Maybe Marvel Rivals. Maybe that could get a lot more use out of the mouse functionality. So again, I'm very excited, and I'm very glad that the feature is there. I just don't think Nintendo really did their best to sell you on it during the Direct. But that's fine. They had a lot of stuff to show off. They couldn't spend hours on this. So that's fine. But I'm very excited for the mouse. Another thing that they showed off, and again, everybody who made a prediction video, I didn't make one, but everybody who did, talked about this, the gimmick game, right? And we all expected this, right? With the Switch, it was 1-2 Switch. With Wii, it was Wii Sports. With Wii U, it was Nintendo Land. Essentially a game meant to tell you all about the console's new cool stuff. And when they first showed it off, it seemed to be very Astro Boy coded, right? Like the game takes place within the Nintendo Switch console, and that's where you sort of access all the other mini games or tech demos or whatever. So I guess I was expecting it to be like an included, right? Like a pack-in with the Switch. But no, it's a digital game that you pay separately, that you buy on the eShop, which is crazy to me, a little greedy, and also, I don't know, it seems a little stupid. Here's the thing. I can't imagine anyone buying that, right? It would be like asking someone to buy 1-2 Switch. And I think 1-2 Switch was also sold separately, but how much must that be? I mean, that game must have sold like, what, 5 copies? Right? So I don't know. It feels weird to ask money, to ask the consumer for money for something like this, particularly because it's the sort of thing that they would purchase right after getting the $450 console, right? So I don't know. But it's whatever. I'm not going to play it. I doubt anybody will. We also got our first true look at the C button, which was, I don't know why, but it was like scrubbed out of the original trailer. It's not like it was like a super big secret. I mean, it had leaked through patents. We knew it was there. And the button itself was there on the trailer. It just didn't have the C symbol. And now we know what it does. And I think it does what most of us really expected it to do, which was voice chat, right? And I think there are probably some people that were worried that it was going to be something a lot more complex, because knowing Nintendo, I mean, it could have been a button that turns the console into an RC car, right? I mean, Nintendo, sometimes they really, they just go for broke with strange ideas. So it is voice chat, and I'm glad that finally we have a Nintendo console with just integrated voice chat with just by the command of a button. But again, they had to do it in a weird Nintendo-y way, where at least from what we see in the excuse me, at least from what we see in the footage that was shown off, it seems like you're always looking at the screens of the people you're talking to, and you can expand the screens, but those screens will always be there. And it was implied that it can only be like your friends or your family. So it's voice chat, but it's a Nintendo voice chat, which means it's got a bunch of restrictions and weird features that I'm expecting to frankly get in the way. But I mean, we'll have to see till we get our hands on the actual console. And in 2 months, not in 2 months, in 2 months the console releases. And in a week, there'll be that event where people will actually get their hands on the console and play those games. And maybe they'll get to play with the chat feature. Goddamn. So we can learn more about that. But yeah, I'm glad it's there again, because it's one of those things where Nintendo lags behind everybody else in this industry, right? Like online, right? Like in my PlayStation, I play a lot of Marvel Rivals on my PlayStation. And whenever you're in a match, right, whether it's ranked, whether it's quick play, if you want to talk to the other players, all you really have to do, it doesn't matter if they're your friends, it doesn't matter if they know you, it doesn't matter, none of that stuff matters. You can just press the button and talk to them because they're on your team right now. So it makes sense that you have to communicate. And it's just weird to me that Nintendo still refuses to just make it like this, to just be like, yes, you can talk to other people. Right? No, it's got to go through this weird process. But again, we'll see. We still don't know much about it. 256 gigabyte storage. I mean, people expected it to be much bigger than the Switch, but yeah, that's really cool. I mean, downloading Tears of the Kingdom on my Switch literally takes up all of the space. I can't have any other games on it if I have Tears of the Kingdom. So to see that much more storage, I'm glad. Another thing they showed off that I wanted to talk about, not because I liked it, because I didn't like it, was Dragon Drive. This game that uses like mouse controls and motion controls. Frankly, another gimmick game. And I don't think it's a third-party game. I mean, I was paying attention. I think this is like a new Nintendo IP, like a new Nintendo-developed game. And to see that this is the new Nintendo IP. Again, if it is, maybe it's being developed by another studio and I just didn't notice. But they talked about it like it was a project by them. I mean, I don't know. The way that they showed off the controls, where it's just like one forward, one back, it just doesn't look very fun to me. It looks a little tedious, and even in the gameplay, I might have been sold on that if the actual look of the game was like interesting at all. But it's very gray, very drab. You're just playing as like a bunch of paraplegic athletes in these gray fucking stages where you roll yourself slowly to the basket. I don't know. It rubbed me the wrong way. I can't tell why. It just seemed very cheap, very like, look at the new feature and look at this game that has a new feature. I don't know. Like, because like back when the Switch came out, at least they had ARMS, right? Which ARMS was, I mean, but for all intents and purposes, right? Another gimmick game. One that was meant to show off the Switch's like better motion controls when compared to the Wii. But the thing about ARMS was, even just by looking at it, it looked like a fun game, right? It was very colorful. The characters were very vibrant and expressive in the way that a lot of good Nintendo stuff usually is. And I don't know, it was just enticing in that sense, right? This doesn't really have that at all. I don't know why they showed this off here, and I don't know why it wasn't in like a sizzle reel or something. Like, why did this get like 2 minutes of the direct? I don't know. I'm baffled by it. I don't know who's gonna play it. It doesn't look good at all, but we'll see. Another thing they talked about was Switch 2 edition games, which, I mean, it was kind of already confirmed. If you people who were like digging deep in the Nintendo website found mention of Switch 2 edition games. I don't know where in the website, but it was there. So people knew about it very technically, but here they're sort of officially revealing it. And I mean, it's what you expect, right? Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom are getting the Nintendo Switch 2 editions with better graphics and, more importantly, better frame rate, which is a huge issue for those games. Just in general, I hope better, just that the game runs better. Like, those games, they're good and everything, but they're sort of a little janky, if I'm being honest. So yeah, they showed that off. Cool, great. You can also just, much like in PlayStation, you can just upgrade. If you already own the Switch 1 game, you can just purchase an upgrade pack. I don't know. They didn't announce the price for that, I don't think. So I don't know. It's probably going to be like $10, I would expect. But yeah, that's something that they're doing. They're making other Switch 2 editions. There was a Kirby one, that Kirby and the Forgotten Land, which had like a whole new side story added to it, which I think is really cool. Then you had Mario Party Jamboree, which had a bunch of new modes and mini games that make use of the mouse feature. And yeah, I mean, it's cool. It's not the sort of stuff. I know a lot of people really, really like that stuff, right? To see, like, I know there's a lot of people out there who are like, ooh, I can play Breath of the Wild in 60 FPS now. It's never been like a huge deal for me. I played Breath of the Wild. I love Breath of the Wild, but I already played it, right? Like, I don't need. If I want to play it again, I don't care if I play it on my Switch or on my Switch 2. That's not that important to me, right? Because what makes the game good isn't going to change because it's on another console, in my view, right? And Metroid Prime 4 was another one that's getting a Switch 2 edition. There are some other ones in there, I think, but, so that's happening. We all expected it. It's happening. Now, I really want to get into third-party stuff for the Switch. They showed off so much third-party stuff. Like, I was really expecting this to be the Nintendo show, Like, Zelda, Mario, Donkey Kong, Kirby, Splatoon, all that stuff. And I mean, of course, there were first-party games shown off, but it really wasn't that. It had a huge focus on new games, like entirely new games coming to the Switch 2, as well as old games like multiplats that are coming to the Switch 2. Some of which I'm very excited about, like Elden Ring. I mean, I played Elden Ring before, but the prospect of playing it on the go is really cool. And I mean, yeah, you can play it on the Steam Deck, but I haven't heard good things about the way that it runs on the Steam Deck. And people have told me it's not too good. So I'm excited for it to be on the Switch. Other stuff that I'm really Hitman and all three Hitman games, like the Assassination Collection or whatever it's called, World of Assassination Collection. That's it. All coming to Switch day one, I'm pretty sure. That's really cool. Those are games that I love. They're stealth games, but they're very different. They're sort of like these like massive interactive puzzles, like each level is, and they're just really cool. So I'm glad it's coming out. And it also, talking about Hitman and just IO Interactive in general, they showed off Project 007. Well, they didn't show it off. They had a little teaser for it, and I think it's literally the same teaser that was shown off like 3 years ago, back when the game was announced. And it's wild to me that you have this presentation, right? It's presenting a new console, a bunch of new games for said console, and you've been working on this game for presumably a while, right? At least enough that you want to talk about it on the Nintendo Direct. But what you end up doing isn't even like talking about it. It's just literally like showing the same footage that you've already shown, still not revealing a title, just letting you know this game that we're also making is also going to be here at some point in the future. I don't know, it was a weird inclusion, though I am glad. I mean, I'm very excited for the James Bond game. I think IO Interactive is one of those studios right now that is just banger after banger, right? You have, for me at least, it has a lot of prestige, right? I put it up there with studios like Hazelight and From Software, studios that I just don't see putting out bad games. And so, yeah, I think that's cool. A little out of left field, but whatever. I guess James Bond is coming, but Hitman 2, so cool. Silk Song. Silk Song, after 2 years of waiting around to hear anything about it, after people have been speculating about the whole thing with the cake online, Silk Song was in it. Barely, but it was there. And to be fair, there was new information, right? We know that now Silk Song is coming out this year, presumably on the Nintendo Switch 2. I'm assuming on other consoles as well, but on the Switch 2 for sure. And I mean, yeah, it's just one of those things where it was just really cool to learn that it still exists. Right? I mean, I check up on Silk Song news like pretty often. It's a game I'm super excited about. So to get validation for that excitement is really cool. Particularly after the whole thing with the cake, I was like, people are doing too much. But no, it was true. I mean, it was true in some sense, right? I guess we still don't know if it was that it wasn't a coincidence. But so yeah, Silk Song was in it. Really cool. 2025. So coming out sometime this year. Okay, the next thing I want to talk about is something it was probably like, I mean, there was two things that blew me away this Direct. And we'll talk about the other thing when we get to it. But right now, this is the first thing that blew my mind. The Duskbloods. An entirely new From Software Souls-like, directed by Hidetaka Miyazaki, exclusively for the Nintendo Switch 2, coming out next year. It's wild. It's just wild to think that a FromSoft game is exclusive to a Nintendo console. Like, I don't know why. It's strange, but I guess it's cool. I mean, ideally, I would prefer a world where exclusives weren't really a thing, right? But they are, and it's really cool that From Software seems to be really going in on this Nintendo thing. And the game actually looked really cool. Really cool. I'm amazed by how fast FromSoft puts out stuff. Right? Like, I mean, what? 1 year was Elden Ring, the next year was Armored Core, then the next year being this year, it's Night Rain. And the DLC, right, which was essentially a whole new game, which was 40 hours long. And now next year, this, right? And it looks amazing. When the trailer first started, right, I was definitely getting FromSoft vibes. There's just a way that they go about, a way that their characters talk, that their worlds look, that I just sort of intuitively knew, I think this is a FromSoft thing. Then the FromSoft thing came up, and they were talking about blood. For a solid second there, my brain broke, and I thought it was Bloodborne 2. I got really excited, but I'm actually pretty glad it's not Bloodborne 2. If you ask me, especially with From Software, I'd almost always rather get a new thing than a sequel to an old thing. I find that when From Software gets to build from the ground up again, they really do their best work, right? The best Dark Souls game, don't come at me, is the first one. It just is. And I know people are gonna say, "But the bosses are in 3 or what?" No, but the vibe of the first one, the world, there's something about it. that really the other two games, at least in my view, didn't really manage to fully like emulate. But then Sekiro, right? Another absolute banger. Bloodborne, another absolute banger. Elden Ring, another absolute banger. When FromSoft is building a world from the ground up, I think it's where they really thrive. So to see yet another new FromSoft IP in an era where everything we get is sequels and remakes, it's just so cool. And the look of it was really cool, right? It was definitely, at first I thought it was Bloodborne, but the more I got to look at it, you realize, oh no, this is new. This is different, right? It's a little bit more industrial than Bloodborne ever was, right? Like Bloodborne was very Victorian, right? Like the edge of sort of the industrial era. This seems to be like full into it, right? Like we see some sort of rudimentary technology, like a train with lights. You know what I mean, right? I'll say this: it's a lot more Lies of P than it is Bloodborne, right? At least from what we got to look at, and I'm just really excited. I mean, I love From Software. I love what they do. I love their whole thing. And I'm probably going to end up doing a video just on this game alone. So I probably shouldn't talk about it too much here. It's going to be a lot of editing. But yeah, Dustbloods is great. Love it. Excited for it. I'm going to talk more about it soon. Kirby Air Ride. Kirby Air Riders, I guess. I've never played the GameCube Classic. I know people like it. And, I mean, yeah, I thought it was cool. I mean, I saw some people freaking out over this online. I guess it has a cult following or something. But, I mean, yeah, I thought it was cool. Here's my thing with Kirby Air Riders, right? We all knew that Masahiro Sakurai was working on a game, and he's been working on a game for a while now. He's been talking about it. But we didn't know what that game was, and there was a lot of speculation about what that game was. Most people thought it was a new Smash. I would have been glad with that, not like super psyched, but I would have been like, oh, okay, cool, right? Like we got a new one every generation. So people thought it was a new Smash. It wasn't. People thought it was a new Kirby. It sort of was, but it really wasn't. I was personally hoping it was a completely new thing, but it wasn't that. It's Kirby Air Ride, which I've never played the original. I've never seen it. I don't know what it is really, but it kind of looks like a racing game, and I don't know. I mean, Mario Kart World is kind of, at least from what we know about it so far, shaping up to be like one of the best racing games ever, right? I mean, it's more, right, because we trust in Nintendo for this sort of shit, right? Like we know they can make good Mario Kart, we know they can make the karts drive good, and now to sort of just expand on that and make it like a world, it's just very exciting. So now, to also announce in the same presentation that one of your most talented developers, Masahiro Sakurai, is working on Kirby Air Ride, which again, I'm pretty sure is a racing game. I don't know. I'm a little disappointed by it, but I trust in Sakurai. I'm sure the game will be great. I'll probably end up playing it still, but yeah, those are my thoughts on that. And this is, okay, now let's talk about the next thing that sort of blew my mind. We were all, everybody watching this, I mean, everybody who knows Nintendo, we were all expecting them to show off a new 3D Mario. For as long as at least I've been alive, every new Nintendo generation has had a new 3D Mario either on launch day or in like their launch year, right? And it's always one of their bigger things, right? So when the trailer, when the direct was ending, and we got to look at this new game with like these massive like environments that were very stylized and very cool, very 3D platformy. I mean, I immediately thought, oh, the new 3D Mario. And I was really excited. I was like, this looks cool. And then Donkey Kong comes out. And no, it's not a new 3D Mario. It's a new 3D DK game. One with a whole new character model, essentially a whole new visual style, and with seemingly destructible environments and open levels and really cool characters that we got. I was just like, what? You know? It's called Donkey Kong Bonanza. Very clever. And I mean, I was just like in shock by it. I didn't think that we'd ever see a Donkey Kong 3D game again. So to see it here, right, in what is essentially, at least I think, Nintendo's biggest presentation in the last 10 years, not only in length, but like in sort of notoriety, right? It's really cool, and I'm really, really excited. I love Donkey Kong, and again, this is something that I've been talking about this with what Nintendo is doing. It seems that Nintendo is letting the leash loose a little bit, right? Letting people change up their characters a little more, right? Like Donkey Kong is wearing like a cool like outfit, like a miner outfit. It's letting them play with different ideas. If this game had come out 10 years ago, it would just be your standard Mushroom Kingdom crap, you know? But now, I mean, it's different. There's these like crystal monsters that like change shape at will. I don't know. I'm really excited for it. I'm glad it's happening. I think it says something really cool about the sort of direction that this console is going on. So yeah, as far as what they've shown off on the Direct, that's my thoughts on that. Right? Those are at least the things I wanted to touch on for now. I'm betting some of those will probably get individual videos later on in the week or next week. But yeah, those are my general thoughts. I'm very excited. And I wanted to finish off with sort of my general, I guess, outlook or sort of thoughts after finishing the whole thing. First off, third-party support for this thing is crazy. We all expected this to be first party, right? Like Nintendo franchises. And it really wasn't that. I mean, those were there for sure, but this had a much bigger focus on third-party stuff, which is crazy, right? So I'm really glad. I think it says something about sort of the way that Nintendo is going to handle themselves in this upcoming generation, sort of opening themselves up even more to external developers, even more to new ideas around the industry, even more to sort of Western development things and other things going on around even in Japan, right? So I think that's really cool to see so many different devs coming together to make games for a Nintendo console that aren't Nintendo devs. It's just really cool, right? It fills me with joy to see that. So yeah, and I wasn't expecting it at all. And again, I think that Nintendo wanting to kick off their generation essentially by concentrating mostly on new people within the company and on games that they're not making says a lot about the way that their outlook towards the way that they do this is shifting. So I'm really glad about that. And I mentioned at the beginning that there was something that had me very disappointed, and I think I'm going to talk about it a little bit now. It might end up getting its own video if I feel like writing something sad, but I wanted to talk about it now, and that's pricing. Some people were definitely projecting that it was going to be $450, and that's what it is. It wasn't shown off in the Direct. It was announced later online. And yeah, I don't know, to see a Nintendo console be only $50 under the competition, it feels weird, right? Like Nintendo's sort of, I mean, they have a lot of stuff that they do well, but one of the things that has always distinguished them from the competition has been that they've been way more affordable and approachable. And I guess that's changing. And again, this is a console price. I don't really get too hung up on console prices because it's something you only pay once, right? And $450, I mean, it's more than I wanted it to be, but I don't think it's too crazy. What really, really was a hit in the gut was learning that Mario Kart World, digitally, will be worth $80. $80! What are you talking about? $80 games on my Nintendo Switch? Get the fuck out of here. No, I was a little mad when I saw this. And, I mean, there are reasons, right? To be entirely fair, yes, tariffs are a huge issue right now. Importing stuff to the West is way more expensive than it used to be a couple years ago. This is true. Another thing that's true, inflation is still an ongoing factor, not just in America, not just in Mexico where I live, in the world, right? So things are bound to get more expensive. But $80 for Mario Kart is just not fair. And I think, and again, I'm probably going to start ranting. I don't want to talk about it too much here because I want to make a video on it. And I think I want to collect my thoughts a little bit more on this because it really makes me mad. But I mean, God, it just sucks, right? Nintendo has never been super pro-consumer, but when it came to money, right, the amount of money that you spent on Nintendo stuff, that's where they won, right? You would never spend as much money on a Nintendo console as you would on an Xbox or a PlayStation, and that seems to be changing, right? I mean, and this is, to be fair to Nintendo, this isn't only a Nintendo thing, right? I mean, Uh, 2 years ago, most new games were worth $60, then they're worth 70, including Nintendo games. Let's not forget, Tears of the Kingdom was $70, and I've heard every argument about why it's worth it, because it's a huge game, and it is, and there are definitely other games that are also $70 that were not as good as Tears of the Kingdom, but man, $80, it feels, frankly, like too much. I think we all expect the things to get more expensive, but this feels like a step too far in my view. This feels very anti-consumer, particularly from Nintendo. It's a little sickening, if I'm being honest. And while people will come up with all sorts of reasons why it should cost that, but I think really at the end of the day, and this is a problem with the industry, is a lot more to do with greed than anything else, right? I mean, one of the hugest things we've seen in the industry over the past couple of years is these massive layoffs, right? From these huge companies and big studios, and studios shutting down, right? I mean, more than 30,000 people have lost their jobs in the industry in the past 3 years. And this year doesn't seem to be looking any different. And most of that stuff is because these companies are ending up losing a lot of money on bad ideas, or because game budgets are ballooning towards $300-400 million. And rather than firing, these people at the top who make, I mean, just look at, I forget what the name of the family that runs Ubisoft is, but look at their salaries. I mean, these people make millions and millions and millions of dollars a year. If you fired just one of them, you could save so much money, but they choose to fire 100 employees, right? And I mean, I'm getting into a rant here. I don't want to talk too much about it. Anyway, what I wanted to say about, I'm going to talk about it in a video. Leave a comment if you want that video. I'm going to make it anyway, but whatever. I think what it really comes down to is this. We live in a culture where growth is way more important than sustainability, right? So, and Nintendo isn't a private company. It's a public company. What happens? You make, let's say, $10 last year, as an example, right? As a public company, right? Now, if you were a private company, the only person who's telling you how much money you should be making really is you. Or, it's all happening within the company. What happens when you have a public company, one the size of Nintendo, is it doesn't matter if you make $10 last year, and then if you don't make more than $10 this year, even if you made $10, and even if you made $8, right, which is still a profit, even if you're profiting, right, that doesn't matter. All these people want to see is growth, right? Sustainability means nothing to them. These people want to see bigger numbers every year. That's what they care about. And frankly, we're seeing the results of that. And I think as the consumer, we frankly ceded too much fucking ground. This is something we should be talking about more. God, I mean, it's just, it's so disappointing. I really don't know what to say. It just sucks, I guess. It really, really sucks to see Nintendo, which, Nintendo's not perfect, but they certainly tend to buck a lot of industry trends, leaning into this one so harshly. So it's just, I don't know. But anyway, I guess it sucks to end the video on that note. So to back to happy thoughts, I'm very, very excited by the games they showed off. I'm very, very excited by the general image and impression that Nintendo seems to want to be leaving with the people watching. And I'm just excited for the Switch too. It looks really cool. The games on it are going to be really great. Mario Kart World looks amazing. The Duskbloods is, I'm a From Software guy. It's going to rock. Silk Song, so happy. Donkey Kong, so happy. Metroid Prime 4, so happy. I'm just really excited. Sad about what I talked about, and I'll talk about it some more at some point. But really, overall, really, really excited for this new Nintendo generation, to see what they can do, right? The last generation is, in my view, the best Nintendo generation so far, just in terms of game quality and output and growth. And now, to see them doubling down on that ethos, I think is really cool. So that's it. Signing off. I'm probably going to set up a Patreon pretty soon. For those of you who like this video and like it so much that they would want to give me money, it's going to be up soon. We'll talk about it. Anyway, that's it. Thank y'all.
Menino bonito, precioso.